I don't know what to say.
Welcome back to our YouTube channel. After
Day
murdering, Day 3 after murdering somebody.
Wow! Don't put that on camera.
It was worth it.
And we had a lot today.
How many things must go wrong for someone to kill their father and then laugh about it on YouTube? In the disturbing case of Sierra Halseth and Aaron Guerrero, no one really has an answer to that question. One day, Sierra was a sweet 16-year-old who enjoyed leisure activities with her dad and took a lot of photos with him. The next, she burned him and eloped with her crazy boyfriend. Then, she blamed it all on her father.
He locks me in place and starts pushing me and hitting me around.
But were any of her claims true? And if so, how come nobody knew about them? This is the full story of Sierra Halseth, her sudden descent into madness, and the tragic death of Daniel Halseth. Today's story begins in Las Vegas, Nevada, but its true origins lie in Estacada, Oregon. This is where Daniel Halseth was born in 1975 or 1976. His family went all the way back to some of Oregon's earliest settlers. Daniel got a bachelor's degree in music at Western Oregon University, and during college, he was known as Drummer Dan. Daniel didn't forget about his passion for music, but he went on to earn a business degree from Corbin University in Salem. He was set to become a successful entrepreneur, and soon enough he did. By 2020, he'd amassed 20,000 followers on Instagram, sharing motivational posts about politics, economics, and tech, and videos of his walks through the US.
Hello friends, over here in Rhode Island, checking out the scene, sporting it out. Hitting a hard little bit of windy up here, but little wind up here, but it's just so great.
But no matter what he said in his videos, he ended them with a positive, grateful note.
And I hope today you remember how amazing you are. Don't forget about your gifts that God's blessed you with, and have a beautiful rest of your Easter.
Sometime in his 20s, Daniel met Elizabeth Palagian, the youngest woman ever elected to the Nevada State Senate. In March 2001, the two got married. This is how Daniel ended up moving to Nevada. Daniel and Elizabeth had 3 children together: Dana, Jordan, and Sierra, and the happy family lived in Las Vegas as Daniel found a job in the city. But the family wasn't happy for a very long time, and a decade after their wedding, Daniel and Elizabeth broke it off. What's worse, Daniel's face made it to the local newspapers too, and he wasn't portrayed in a good light. In October 2011, Daniel was arrested after Elizabeth claimed he had tried to force himself on her. Married or not, it has to be consensual. It's unclear just how far Daniel went, but there was some inappropriate touching, and Elizabeth wanted to make it clear that such a thing must not happen again. A month later, Daniel filed for divorce and claimed Elizabeth was having an affair, but he also pleaded guilty to the misdemeanor charges, and he was sentenced to 6 months probation and anger management class. Sierra and her siblings were still very young when their parents got divorced, but the drama wouldn't end there. Both parents remarried, but Daniel's second marriage ended even faster than the first. However, he and his second wife remained friends, and they even kept their joint bank account. But amidst this lack of stability at home, something else happened. Elizabeth started a long custody battle over the 3 children, and it was a very long, contentious, and cumbersome process. All of this was going on as Sierra started high school. Needless to say, it was tough on her and her 2 siblings. Eventually, her siblings would move in with Elizabeth, while Sierra would stay with Daniel. She seemed to be very close with her dad, and he would post a myriad of pictures showing the 2 of them having fun. The 2 had lots of pictures together, and Daniel would constantly tell social media how much he loved his youngest daughter. Daniel's family saw his dedication to his children every single day, commenting, "His world was all about his children. They were his first in life, always." This is precisely what makes what's about to happen very tragic. In June 2020, 15-year-old Sierra started dating Aaron Guerrero, who was 2 years older than her. But this wasn't your usual casual high school dating. Sierra and Aaron's relationship progressed extremely fast, and it looked like each was obsessed with the other. They started making very worrying plans for the future, like robbing both their parents and running off to California. You don't expect teenagers to be extremely responsible or level-headed, but with these two, it was on a whole new level. Both sets of parents were very reluctant to let their kids date each other. They saw an immediate change for the worse in their behavior, and they were worried this would only get worse if they let it happen. Sadly, it was their worries that pushed them to their most evil. By Christmas that year, Aaron and Sierra's families thought they had stopped dating each other. They were forbidden to date, and they seemed like they had finally listened to their parents' advice. But something else entirely was happening. Sierra and Aaron were biding their time and quietly plotting their ultimate revenge on their families. The plan was simple. Remove the parents who stood in their way. They had to be together, no matter what. On December 16th, 2020, Sierra turned 16. So Daniel wrote a heartfelt post, once again professing his love for his youngest daughter. I dreamed a dream when I was 9 about having children, being a husband, and being the best dad I could be, like my pa. Seeing you now brings me so much joy. I love you for eternity, and I thank Jesus for the miracle of Sierra Marie Halseth. Who would think that at the same time, Sierra was plotting her father's murder? On April 3rd, Daniel posted an old video of himself and Sierra doing a dance. He wrote, "Sierra and I were enjoying videos together last night. 5 days later, Aaron ran away from home, but Aaron's family wouldn't be the only ones worrying that day." That same day, $1,300 was withdrawn from Daniel's bank account without warning. This seemed odd to his ex-wife. They shared the account, and Daniel would never withdraw such large amounts without letting her know why. Daniel's ex-wife sent him a text, but he didn't respond all day. By now, many people were worried about Daniel's radio silence, including Elizabeth and Christine, his mother. Elizabeth then texted Sierra, "Hey Sierra, I'm trying to get a hold of your dad. Where is he?" You'd expect Sierra wouldn't reply, but here's what she texted back. "His phone has been acting up, but he's okay. It should be all fixed by tomorrow night. No worries." But Daniel's family still worried. He would have used his laptop to contact them if his phone had problems. And smartphones in 2021 rarely act up, as Sierra claimed. Daniel would have gotten it fixed within a day or two. What's more, Daniel was always on social media, constantly posting Instagram videos and tweeting his thoughts to his many followers. His mom knew this, so Daniel's silence worried her a lot. She asked a family friend if they could quickly check if Daniel was at home. The family friend called Sierra and asked her if she knew where her dad was. She said he was in the shower. When the friend asked her why he wasn't answering his phone, she said it was broken. She confidently assured her family friend that she would tell Daniel to call them back on someone else's phone as soon as he was out of the bathroom. But as you can imagine, he didn't. And on the next day, Sierra stopped responding to calls and messages from her family. She knew the broken phone excuse would only last so long. So that day, Christine sent Sierra another text message. "Peggy might come over and check. This is ridiculous. He has laptop and Donna is concerned. So am I. Would you please have your dad call me on your phone?" "Yes, but Peggy wants to call him first. He's in the shower." Just how much is Daniel in the shower? Christine had a very bad feeling about it. "Okay, Sierra, I want to call your dad right away. I am very serious." When Sierra didn't answer the text, Christine called her. She demanded that she speak to Daniel, but guess what Sierra said? He was in the shower. Christine threatened to call the police, and Sierra hung up. That morning, CCTV footage showed Daniel's blue Nissan Altima leaving the area. Meanwhile, Christine was getting more and more anxious. "Sierra, I want to talk to my son. What is the problem? Do I need to call the police?" Joey and Peggy are on their way. Joey and Peggy, Daniel's landlords, were indeed on their way, but they had told Christine it would take a few hours as they were out somewhere else. By the time the landlords arrived, Christine had already called 911.
How may I help you?
Yeah, hi. I need a welfare check. I don't know if
On who are we doing a welfare check?
for my son. He's been missing for 2 days. His work's called, his family's called, I've called, his ex-wife's called, and there's nobody answering the phone, and there's nothing. Nobody can get a hold of him, and then his work called, and they can't get a hold of him, and it's really, he just doesn't act like this.
Okay. Does he live alone?
He lives with his 16-year-old daughter, who is not answering the phone.
Okay.
Or replying to a text.
Mm-hmm.
And the weird part is, I'll just tell you this, there's been ATM withdrawals at 3 different ATMs.
The dispatcher would send officers to the address, but Joey and Peggy would arrive first, and their discovery would be truly heartbreaking. When Peggy and Joey arrived at Daniel's home, the front door was open and Daniel's car was missing. The pair slowly opened the front door, only to be overwhelmed by a strong smoke smell. Then there was a huge scorched patch on the floor in the living room. Even more scary, Joey and Peggy carefully searched through every room of the house, hoping for the best, but expecting the worst. The house was empty, apart from the worrying fire remnants, and there was no sign of Daniel or Sierra. But this was before Peggy and Joey walked into the garage. The whole place smelled like lighter fluid. In the middle of the garage was a sleeping bag, clearly containing something. So Peggy and Joey looked inside. It was Daniel's body, burnt to a crisp and mutilated in every way imaginable.
911 emergency, Guerrero 16497. Do you need police, fire, or medical?
How's it with that body? Oh my God. 8417 Dumpsy Court. 8417 Dumpsy Court.
Do you need police, fire, or medical?
There was a fire, and we went in to investigate. The fire must be a couple days old. But there's a dead body in the garage we just found. I'm with the homeowner that doesn't live here.
Okay, and you're in there right now?
Yes.
Within minutes, the police made it to the address too. Daniel had been viciously killed at the age of 45. His life had been cut short and in a manner almost too gruesome to describe. But as devastated as everyone was, no one could explain how this could have happened. This was just the beginning of an investigation that would turn the life of this family upside down. The forensic team retrieved a long list of distressing clues from the Halseth home. First, there was the chainsaw in the living room, blatantly thrown on the floor. In the kitchen, there was also a saw, and there was blood all along its edge. In the kitchen sink were 2 knives. All of the weapons had been used. The police also found receipts from a Home Depot store and an ATM. But although there was a fire pit in the living room and a bloody saw in the kitchen, someone had made serious attempts to also clean the house. Daniel's autopsy revealed a truly gruesome picture. The autopsy documents 70 cutting force injuries, some even after he was dead. Most of them were on his head, neck, and torso. His body, which was burned from head to toe, had been stuffed in a sleeping bag before it was set on fire in the home's garage near Durango and Alta Drives, the report said. Whoever wanted him dead, the detectives figured, really hated him. They stabbed him 70 times. And after he died, they proceeded to mutilate his body. After they had their evil fun, they burned his body until he could barely be identified. When the detectives spoke to the family, they realized no one was a clear suspect. No one could comprehend why Daniel would have such an enemy, or anyone this violent in his proximity. But there was one red flag. Sierra had acted pretty sketchy with her grandmother, Christine, claiming her dad was in the shower every time she would inquire about him, avoiding her texts altogether later on. Also, Sierra was missing from home, and by now, the detectives knew she lived with her dad, so by April 9th, the police had a lead. The detectives tracked the Home Depot receipt to a local store and accessed their CCTV footage. Lo and behold, they saw Aaron Guerrero buying the saw, gloves, and lighter fluid. CCTV footage from the same day showed Sierra at a Winco supermarket carrying 2 gallons of bleach. Of course, she also used Daniel's credit card for the purchase. Imagine knowing that one day you'll be financing your daughter's plan to murder you and dispose of your body. To think Sierra was once the cute little curly-haired girl that posed for adorable family pictures right next to her dad. As the police learned about Aaron Guerrero, they started piecing the puzzle together. They discovered that he had run away from home on April 8th, and that he and Sierra had been told not to date each other by both their families. Paired with the CCTV footage, the police had enough to issue a warrant for their arrest. On April 13th, the young couple was seen on a street security camera 400 miles away in Salt Lake City, Utah. They were happy, young, and in love. But the footage really changes when you consider what they'd done just days before. Aaron and Sierra were stopped by the police as they suspected they hadn't paid for the bus tickets. But when they ran a quick background check, they found out they were actually wanted for murder.
2 teens wanted in connection with a homicide have been taken into custody.
Daniel Halseth is the father of one of these teenagers, and police say his 16-year-old daughter and her 18-year-old boyfriend are accused of killing him and then trying to cover it up.
As the detectives took the couple into custody, another group of detectives found Daniel's Nissan abandoned after Sierra and Aaron used it to flee the crime scene. In the trunk of the car was a bloody blanket. And here we get to the darkest part of the video yet. The police took Sierra and Aaron's phones as evidence. The next natural step was to look through the photos and videos folders. This is what they found on Sierra's phone.
I don't know what to say.
Welcome back to our YouTube channel. After
Day
murdering, day 3 after murdering somebody.
Wow! Don't put that on camera.
It was worth it.
And we had a lot today.
Are they kids? Are they evil monsters? Perhaps their young ages and baby faces are precisely what makes this video extra creepy. In this video, initially recorded for YouTube, Sierra and Aaron are happily joking about murdering Daniel. They seem to have zero remorse, and their reason for it seems incredibly immature.
And we had a lot today.
This is the sad reality of psychopathic killers. They don't care about others' emotions or about causing pain, destruction, and misery. They see other people as objects that stand in their way and do whatever it takes to eliminate hurdles that bother them. For Sierra, her dad was just a hurdle in the way of her teenage relationship. But would Aaron have killed his parents too? As soon as Sierra and Aaron were arrested in Utah, they were extracted to Nevada and held inside the Clark County Detention Center.
Now, the boyfriend is identified as Aaron Guerrero. The I-team also obtained documents stating Utah Transit Authority police arrested him on a fugitive warrant at a train station. Now, the 16-year-old, again, we've learned she is the victim's daughter, and Metro police say she stole his car.
The news immediately sent shockwaves throughout the country. You don't hear of too many girls killing their dads, let alone stabbing them 70 times and burning them inside their home to have sex. This was deeply shocking and distressing to the extended families. And it was also shocking to everyone who handled the case.
It's definitely disturbing when you have such a young man and a young woman that are being accused of such a horrific crime. And when you look at the crime scene in itself, it is definitely something that's disturbing. There's no question they had made attempts to dismember his body. We've recovered a chainsaw, circular saw, and a handsaw inside the house that was recently purchased and used.
Both Sierra and Aaron were charged with murder with a deadly weapon, conspiracy to commit murder, arson, robbery with a deadly weapon, conspiracy to commit robbery, and 4 counts of fraudulent use of a credit or debit card. But there were still a few plot twists on the way.
Teens accused of killing a Las Vegas man has a new high-profile attorney. Court filings say 18-year-old Aaron Guerrero has retained Gabriel Grasso. Now, Grasso is known for representing O.J. Simpson in his 2007 Palace Station memorabilia case.
This meant that Aaron had a strong chance to get off with a lighter sentence.
Now that hopefully they are safe and sound, and I mean they're in the hands of the authorities at this point, but at least they're not, you know, out there on their own, and I mean they're both pretty young people. Now, you know, reality sets in and we have to see what's up and what the evidence shows.
This was good news for Aaron, as the prosecution was seeking the death penalty for him. Of course, Sierra was still too young to receive the death penalty, no matter her lawyer, and even though she was tried as an adult. On June 15th, 2021, Sierra and Aaron pleaded not guilty on their first arraignment hearing.
Do you understand the 9 charges that you're facing in the indictment?
Yes.
Guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
The teens were not ready to take responsibility for their crimes, even though just a few months before they were casually joking about it in a home video. The case gained even more attention as people were shocked with Sierra's lack of remorse. It was her father after all, and she didn't seem to mind losing her whole family over it either.
We are digging deeper into a video that shows two teenagers accused of killing a father, discussing and joking about killing someone. 18-year-old Aaron Guerrero and 16-year-old Sierra Halseth are facing a slew of charges in this murder case.
However, for the attorney that helped Daniel in his custody battle against Elizabeth, this wasn't exactly surprising.
I saw a lot of things with Sierra that caused me concern. It indicates to me that something else is going on with her, and I don't know who at this point is to blame for that. But I'm less concerned about placing blame than I am with regard to this child and the child's relationship with a parent.
Remember Daniel's very complicated family history, the divorces, and years-long custody battles? According to a family therapist, this is enough to throw a child off the rails.
If there has been potentially any history of trauma, has there ever been any history of, inconsistency, changes in the home, losses, just compounding factors, honestly, that kind of build up to create a perfect storm.
And here's what Aaron and Sierra's video shows, according to her.
There was a lot that kind of showed dynamics in the relationship and a little bit of power relationally.
In the video, Aaron played Sierra and jokes that this was payment from Sierra for doing her dark bidding. That's not worrying for a couple of high school teens. I don't really know what is. But perhaps the most disturbing part of the couple's video is their absolute lack of remorse. Daniel's family spoke about this.
The total lack of remorse on display in the video is both reprehensible and unforgivable. While we are grateful for the work of the detectives and the district attorney, we are waiting for justice to be served with maximum accountability allowed. We love Dan very much and miss him every moment of the day. This is the only statement we will be making.
In May 2022, there was a big update to the case. Both Aaron and Sierra changed their pleas to guilty on all 9 charges.
Ms. Halseth, in accordance with the laws of the state of Nevada, you're going to be adjudicated guilty on count 1, conspiracy to commit murder. Count 2, first-degree murder with use of a deadly weapon. Count 3, first-degree arson. Count 4, fraudulent use of a credit or a debit card.
This doesn't necessarily mean that they suddenly feel remorse for their actions. Rather, this was a plea deal that offered both a fairly light sentence.
The judge sentencing the teens to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 22 years served. Those were terms specified in an agreement when the teens pleaded guilty to murder and other charges.
In 22 years, both teens might be out, around the age of 40, with half a life ahead of them. After Sierra's sentencing, Christine spoke to her in tears.
Where did the evil come that was bred into a soul that murders their own father?
Imagine knowing your granddaughter murdered your son, then tried to her and burn him to a crisp.
You're in a tough spot because your son is the victim and the killer is your granddaughter. Can you talk about that?
She's not my granddaughter.
What's worse, Sierra never seemed to show any remorse over the murder. In fact, even at her sentencing, she tried to pin the blame on her father, claiming Daniel was a to her, so she had no choice.
He locks me in place and starts pushing me and hitting me around.
Sierra, if your parent is a to you, you can leave home and call the police. Murder is rarely a solution. At the end of the day, Aaron was the only one who offered an apology.
I ask for forgiveness as I get sentenced today, and I hope it brings you a little peace.
Daniel Halseth's loved ones pointing out how Aaron Guerrero appeared to show remorse and emotion, while they believe Sierra did not.
This is the last worrying twist of this already tragic case. With a little luck, Aaron might find the right kind of care inside prison, and by the time he's released, he might be ready for a new, peaceful life. But is there any recovery or redemption for a girl who feels no emotion after her own dad? Thanks for watching, you guys. What are your thoughts on this case? Were Aaron and Sierra's sentences enough to bring justice to Daniel? And could Sierra's descent into madness be prevented? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and before you go, make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons. See you next time, and keep yourselves safe.